Welcome to HPR's new food video logs. I'm Jeni Hill, HPR's food editor, and today we made pan muerto, which is bread that celebrates the Day of the Dead. It is traditionally used in Mexico and other Latin American countries. To make pan muerto, you will need To begin making your pan de muerto, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. In a bowl, dissolve 3 packets of yeast in a 1/3 cup of warm water. You will need to gently stir the thick mixture until the yeast dissolves. Slowly add additional flour until you can form the mixture into a ball. You can leave the ball in the same bowl and cover with a towel, and then place the dough in a warm place until it rises and doubles in size. This should take about a half an hour to an hour. Zest 1 orange, being careful not to include the white pith beneath the very outside of the orange. Then juice that orange. While the yeast dough rises, you can begin to make the rest of your bread dough. In a bowl, sift 2 cups of flour. Sifting makes the flour light and airy and eliminates any particles. Separate your egg whites and yolks, reserving 7 yolks. You can separate the yolks using your hands or by tipping the yolk back and forth between the 2 halves of the eggshell. In the center of the flour, add 15 teaspoons of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, orange juice, orange zest, 1 teaspoon of anise extract, 7 egg yolks, and 2 additional whole eggs with both the whites and the yolks. Knead the dough together, incorporating the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. You will need to add extra flour gradually until the dough forms a ball that can be kneaded. Keep adding flour to the dough and the cutting board if they remain sticky. Knead the dough for about 20 minutes, pulling the outer dough to the center and pushing it in. Add your sticky yeast dough ball mixture to the rest of the dough you were just kneading, and then knead the 2 doughs together. When you are finished kneading, form your dough into an elongated ball. Grab one end of your dough and smack it against the counter as if it were a hammer. Push the 2 ends together and smack the dough again. Keep repeating this process about 4 times. Your dough is finished when it begins to form air bubbles, feels more like plastic, and pulls away from the counter after you smack it. Form this dough into a ball and place the dough inside a bowl rubbed with lard. Also rub the outside of the dough with lard. This will ensure the dough does not stick to the bowl or dry out. Cover your bowl with a towel and let it rise again in a warm location until it doubles in size. This should take about 2.5 hours. When the dough is doubled in size, continue the process of forming your dough into an elongated ball and smacking it against the counter. Again, you are looking for air bubbles and a smooth, plasticky texture that doesn't stick to the counter. After you finish smacking your dough, cut off about 1/3 of the dough and form that into 2 balls. You will form these smaller balls into decorative bones for the bread. Gently knead the chopped pecans into the large bread ball. You don't want a lot of pecans, but just enough to bite into an occasional treat. Let the large dough ball and 2 smaller ones rest on top of a greased baking sheet. Let all of the dough rest again for another 30 minutes. While the dough completes its final resting, beat 1 egg into an egg wash. This egg wash will form a shiny glaze that will help the decorative bones stick to the bread. To make the glaze, mix 1 teaspoon of flour that you had set aside earlier with 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 cups of water. Heat the mixture in a saucepan until the sugar dissolves and it forms a thick glaze. Cool completely. When the dough is finished resting, remove the small dough balls and form into bones. Form 1 small ball into a skull. Then divide the dough balls into smaller portions and roll them into logs forming indents with your fingers. The indents can vary in size and length. Less perfect bones will look more realistic. Brush the large piece of dough with the egg wash and stick the bones onto the bread. Place the center ball on top of the dough and then crisscross the bones around the bread. You can adjust the size of the bones to fit the bread and then glaze the bones with egg wash. Place the bread into a 400-degree oven for 15 minutes. After baking for 15 minutes, remove the bread, brush with the glaze, and lightly sprinkle with sesame seeds. Lower the oven temperature to 350 degrees and bake for 10 more minutes. Finally, you will have your finished pan de muerto. You can let the bread cool and reglaze for extra shine. Pan de muerto is often enjoyed with Mexican hot chocolate, and you can easily recreate this simple beverage. Mexican hot chocolate is warmly flavored with a unique spice mix that includes cinnamon and chilies. You will need Mexican hot chocolate tablets, milk, and a whisk. This brand of Mexican hot chocolate is easily found in most major grocery stores. I found mine at Hornbachers. Unwrap the chocolate and place it in the bottom of a pan. Add milk and heat the mixture until the chocolate melts. Stir often so that the hot chocolate does not burn. I am using a traditional Mexican whisk to aerate the hot chocolate and make it frothy. Enjoy the hot chocolate with your pan de muerto. Thanks for joining us today on HPR's new food video logs. Today we just pulled our final product, our pan de muerto, out of the oven. You can see it's beautiful and garnished with sesame seeds. You could also garnish the bread with sugar or leave it plain with the shiny glaze. We decided to put in some chopped pecans. Great way to honor your loved ones and your ancestors by making this beautiful pan de muerto. You can visit hpr1.com or you can visit my blog at herbalisteats.blogspot.com.